Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. We are live. So get involved in the chat and the comments. Loads of Manchester United stories to get through. A lot of them focusing on that epic victory over the mighty PAOK last night, in no small measure thanks to Amad Diallo. So we're talking about him, we're talking about the result, we're talking about just what it means, and also looking a little bit ahead towards the Leicester game, plus some of the reaction we've had because of that game, because of Amad's goals, because of Ruud Van Nistelrooy. Continues to do a decent job as the caretaker or interim manager. Paul Scholes was speaking after the game about Ruud Van Nistelrooy, about where the future lies for him and what should be next for him. And he says that, I watched a little bit of this when I got home, and he was talking about the fact that he sees Ruud as a number one. He doesn't see him as an assistant, because a lot of people are saying Ruud Van Nistelrooy could probably stay on as an assistant. And Scholes said there, he just looks like a manager when you see him on the sidelines. That passion there, he even dresses like a manager. I think there's a little bit more as well. He looks like a manager. He speaks well, doesn't he? Nice and calm, goes about his business really, really well. I'm pretty sure he must have the bug back to be a manager. When you have done it and have been successful, as he was in Holland as well, going back to being an assistant, it must be quite difficult because you must be frustrated. And I asked him about it before the game. I think is there any more? Yep, because there are certain things he will want to do that you don't agree with the manager, and you can say it, but it doesn't matter. The buck stops with the manager, and I think Ruud now, I don't know if he's going to stay. I don't know that, and it will be up to the new man, the men at Ineos. Now, I get what Scholes is saying there, because Ruud Van Nistelrooy has obviously done, like I said, a decent job as caretaker. I'm not trying to, decent sounds like I'm downplaying it. He's done a good job as manager, and I think that I think with Ruud Van Nistelrooy, you can see he's got that sort of aura. People talk about aura all the time, don't they, in football? And he's got that. There's a bit about him. And I understand why it sounds a bit silly to say, oh, look at what he's wearing, look at the way he's dressed, look at his aura, look at how he carries himself. That almost seems meaningless. But I think there is something there. When you look at a man who has been a manager at a big club like PSV Eindhoven, I know they're not as big as Manchester United, he's had a little bit of a go as caretaker. Is he going to be happy being an assistant? Is he going to be happy if he's got an opinion there, like Scholes was mentioning, that's different from the manager, and the manager overrules him? Because the manager's always going to have the final say, or head coach, as Ruben Amorim is going to be, in terms of what the final decision is with tactics and the team that you pick and that kind of thing. I don't know. None of us know. The main thing for me is, well, it's two main things. And it's obvious, but we'll say it anyway. Does Ruud Van Nistelrooy want to work with Ruben Amorim? I know he said he's happy to stay on in any capacity, but has he met him yet? Has he spoke to him? Does he know what his vision is? Is he really sure that them two can work together? And does Ruben Amorim want him? Those are the two main questions that need to be answered. Those two need to have a chat, see if they're on the same page, see if it's going to work. Ruben Amorim might be like, look, thanks, but no thanks. I think like having someone here who is a bit older than me, I know most people are older than him in terms of coaching, has had a little bit of has a bit of managerial experience, is a club legend. It might unsettle him a bit, unnerve him. It might be a bit like counterproductive. I'm not saying it will be, and I don't think it will be, but I'm saying that might be an opinion. However, he might have the other way, which is, someone who knows the club, who's been at the club as a player and as a coach, and briefly as a manager as well, would be very useful to me in that dressing room and has that good relationship with the players. I remember once talking to Rennie Merlenstein about staying on as part of the coaching setup, and when Fergie retired, and he said sometimes it can be difficult because if you've got a good relationship with the players and you've got a manager who's got opinions or views that the players might not like, and the players are used to you, and they might be coming to you and saying, oh, this manager, what's he doing? It can make it almost untenable for you if the manager sees you as almost being a hindrance rather than a help, almost like you're on the side of the players rather than the side of the manager, if that makes any sense. It's very complicated, I know. So there's lots of sort of decisions to be made, lots of views, lots of nuance to this. It's not just a case of, oh yeah, Ruud's mint and he's a legend, let's keep him. The big question is about how him and Ruben Amorim get on, and whether Ruud is fully on board with being his assistant. I hope so. I think that feels like a real good coaching setup. Ruben Amorim, Ruud Van Nistelrooy alongside him, plus the other coaches that we believe he's bringing with him from Sporting. Then you've got Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox sort of above those, working in, sort of director of football capacity. Then above them, you've got Omar Barada. Then you've got, Dave Brailsford? Then you've got Ratcliffe and all the rest of it. So that, to me, feels like a very good modern football club setup. Whether that will be the case, we'll have to wait and see. It's exciting times. It feels very positive at the minute with what's going on. I know it can all go out the window, but we'll wait and see. Hit that like button, please, people. Let's get to at least 100. No, I'm going to say 100 likes. Let's get to 200 likes. Akash K says, Ruud has a big personality to be a backroom coach. He comes across really well in pressers. I want to see Ruud leave and grow as a manager coach. Wayne Davis, morning all. Billy Price says, it should be Amarim's choice. Simple. Name taken says, Jay's aura is looking shiny today. So he spoke to Ruud before the game and didn't say what he said, says Mika. Dan Royal says, morning Jay, a rare trip to OT for me last night, and it wasn't exactly vintage, but Adam was class. Sid the Whistle, Bull Ref, Brian Casey says, morning Jay, hope you're well, happy Friday, Patrick Mulford, Miles, Ruud to keep us waiting. Thanks everyone who's getting involved in the chat and the comments. Please hit that like button. Mike Red says, what do you mean he was a manager? Ruud was a manager at one at PSV. Let's talk about Amad Diallo. There's a good topic. They're talking about how he sent Ruben Amorim a message. This is from the Independent in Manchester United's Europa League win over PAOK. I mean, we have struggled this season, haven't we? We have really struggled with goals and in terms of some of the performances from our attacking players. But Amad Diallo, I think, has done quite well. I wanted to see him a bit more of him this season. I've said that a few times, and I was glad to see him get a start last night, and I think he took it well. And then you can see there, the record hasn't been great. 380 days since Manchester United have tasted victory against foreign opposition. Pretty poor. I know for a big chunk of that we weren't playing. So as Joe was pointing out the other day, it can be a little bit misleading, that stat, because it's not like we've been playing over the course of those entire 380 days. But let's not kid ourselves. The draws against FC 20, Porto, and Fenerbahce weren't exactly inspiring, and the Champions League group last season was terrible. Was it one win against Copenhagen at home, and that was it? It was just abysmal. But all you can do is sort of, move forward and try and win the games that you've got coming up. And United won last night. See there, the start that we've now risen to the dizzying heights of 15th. Yeah, right, a little bit of sarcasm, but it's warranted. Let's not kid ourselves. Manchester United being in the Europa League is bad enough. Being 15th in the table is nothing to shout about. But like I said, you can only sort of move forward, and we have won the last game we played. You see there about our record. It says United's record on the continent still requires plenty of improvement. Just their second win in 12 European games. I mean, that is pretty shocking. And then you can see here it says relatively. Ruud Van Nistelrooy said, it was a pretty poor first half, if I'm being nice. The two teams appeared evenly matched. We created hardly anything. But then I think, is there a bit more from that quote? I'm guessing he doesn't just end it there. That would be a bit daft. And then, talking about Amad Diallo, he says he was very sharp. He is a great character. It was great to see Amad Diallo playing well and getting a couple of goals. You can argue about, was he a bit fortunate with the header in terms of, is he just trying to get it across goal, or is he actually aiming for the goal? But it doesn't matter. He gets his head on it and he heads it towards where it needs to go, and he scores. So he does well there. And then people saying, oh, did the second one get a bit of a nick? Look, Amad Diallo kept going, got 2 goals, a good performance from him. Hopefully, this can be a springboard for him and maybe even the team. And I know it sounds a little bit melodramatic, a win over PAOK to be a springboard for anything, but maybe it can just help us get going a little bit. My big worry when Amorim comes in is the lack of goals. Is that something he can fix straight away? People have watched the Sporting game against City, and I watched it myself, and you see, Gyökeres getting that hat-trick. You see Sporting scoring goals, loads of goals against Manchester City. I think that's what we need at Old Trafford. Have we got the personnel to do it? I always talk about on our day. On our day, we have. On our day, Marcus Diallo, Garnacho, Rasmus, even Xerxes, they're all mint on the day. But you need players that can do it consistently. I know the jury's probably out with Xerxes. I'm, sort of not exaggerating, but you get my point. So we'll have to wait and see. That is going to be a problem he's got to fix. But I'm guessing that Ruben Amorim will looked at it last night and thought Amad Diallo is someone I can work with. I think he's definitely giving him something to think about, as the Independent said. Harry Potter says, morning Jay, who else is delighted with Amad? Harry Potter also says, as Steve said, he's our best winger and by a country mile, in my opinion. Wayne Davies says, is Amad Diallo the best name in football to say with a Manc accent? I think it is. I've said that a few times. I like that question, Wayne. Yeah, Amad Diallo. Should we talk about his future? Says here on BBC Match Today, Amad Diallo is keen to extend his stay at Manchester United. Little quote from the boy wonder. I'm happy to be here, happy to play for this club, and yes, I want to stay here for a long time and make history here. I love that. And listen, players are always going to say positive things. Well, usually, unless it's, players that have had enough. But I like the fact he wants to make history here. I think he's a good lad. I think he's a good player. And I think he's someone who United should use more often. And hopefully he can have a very, very bright future at Manchester United. I said it earlier, I'm not going to rewrite history. I've always rated him, but I said this is an important season for him. He needs to show it this season. He's had his low moves. He's had season where he's been on the fringe of the first team. A few was it about 10 games, whatever it was last season. This is the season now where you sort of stamp your mark and go, look, I am a first-team player for Manchester United. I am an effective first-team player for Manchester United. And I feel like Amad Diallo, so far, is doing that. He just needs to keep going. I was very impressed with him earlier on in the season. I thought when he came on against Liverpool, for example, I know it was a horrible afternoon for Manchester United, but to come on with 3-0 down, want the ball, try and make things happen, running at players, taking on his man, having a shot. That's what you want to see from a winger at Manchester United. He didn't come on with his head down thinking, we're 3-0 down and I'm up against it. He kept going, and I like that about him. He's got a bit of edge to him. He's only tiny and he's only little, but he gets stuck in. He's got a bit of an edge. He can score goals. He can create things. So, yeah, let's see some more of him. Please, Bruno Fernandes. Let's talk about Bruno. It says here, I think this is from Stretford News, it says Bruno Fernandes added to his impressive record in European competition last night in United's 2-0 win over PAOK. No player has assisted more goals in Europa League history than the Manchester United, I think that should be captain, not caption, who is level with Borak Dokai on 16 as per BBC Sport. Even better, Fernandes has recorded more assists in major European competition, 25, than any other player since his European debut for Sporting in September 2017. Very effective is our Bruno. Whether you love him or you think he's overrated, I love him personally. He's an effective footballer, and those stats and that record speaks for itself. So well done to him. Hopefully we can get back in that Champions League next season, because whilst I get the Europa League stats, and it's not just the Europa League, obviously it's Europe as well, but the Europa League stats are very impressive. And whilst I enjoyed last night, I don't think it was a great game, but the atmosphere was good, which I'm going to get to in a minute. You want to be back in that Champions League. You want to be amongst the big boys, and you want to be going for Europe's top trophy, and hopefully we can make it next season. It's going to be difficult, and the Europa League might be our best bet. Winning the Europa might be our best bet at getting into that Champions League, but we'll wait and see. I'm not giving up on top four yet, because I think there's still a lot of football left to play. Let's talk about the atmosphere last night. Let's talk about the PAOK fans. They were mint. This is from Andy Mitten. You can see he did a little video there. I tell you what, they kept going. Even when they were 2-0 down, they were absolutely bouncing. And fair play to him. He brought a lot of fans with him. Enjoyed it. They enjoyed it at Old Trafford. And that's what you want to see. You want to see the away fans, creating the atmosphere, helping create the atmosphere, and not, sort of not giving up when they're losing. I mean, you want to see the away fans being gutted that the team are losing. You want to see us beating teams at Old Trafford. But it was good they kept going, and it created a good atmosphere. It was all right atmosphere, actually, last night. I enjoyed it. So, nice to see, and they deserve a lot of credit. It's always good when you see a club that you've not really seen before, and they bring a lot of fans down, and they make it a good night at Old Trafford. Not a memorable game, if we're being honest. I'm not going to be telling my grandkids about the time I watched Manchester United beat PAOK, but as a sort of, a spectacle, it was all right. It was relatively enjoying. Listen, a win is a win, and we needed one in Europe. That was the main thing. Ugarte, let's talk about Manuel Ugarte. Man United message before Ruud Amorim arrival. It seems like everyone's got a message for Ruud Amorim, haven't they? Manuel Ugarte sent an emotional Manchester United message following the Europa League win over PAOK. For the third consecutive match, Ugarte was in the starting 11, having played just 2 minutes in the final 3 Premier League games at very tenure. Interim boss Ruud Van Nistelrooy, however, seems to be a big fan, with that sentiment likely to be reflected by the new permanent head coach, Ruud Amorim. It's interesting, isn't it? Because you can see there, that he wasn't getting many minutes under Erik ten Hag, and it's odd because sorry, go back there. Where's that quote from? Keep going. No. Yeah, there you go. So you got a quote there from Ruud Van Nistelrooy. I am convinced about Manuel that he will be a great player for United. If you go down, there's a little bit more as well. He says he had a very good performance yesterday, and against Fenerbahce, he had a good performance. I think, of course, getting players in an early conclusion. Players who are here for 2 or 3 months, we should be careful with that, I think. The thing with the guy that was quite weird, you can get rid of that now, was it just kind of felt like Erik ten Hag didn't want him. That's how it felt to me. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let me know what you think, because you saw that Erik ten Hag made no bones about the fact he wanted to keep Scott McTominay. And now McTominay being sold kind of fueled or funded, the Ugarte deal. Sorry, we can bring up that Insta post as well from Manuel Ugarte. I think you've got it here. This is the way, strong at home and all together. Fantastic. Yeah, you can get rid of that now. Good stuff. So it was obviously wanted to keep McTominay, and McTominay selling him helped to fund Manuel Ugarte. Also, when we heard from Sofian Amrabat, when we played Fenerbahce, he was interviewed and he said, if you want to know why I'm not at Old Trafford, ask Jason Wilcox, making it obvious that it wasn't the manager, wasn't Erik ten Hag that had said, look, I don't want you. It was Jason Wilcox who decided that Sofian Amrabat wasn't the player for Manchester United. So that makes me think that had it been up to Erik ten Hag, he would have kept he wouldn't have got Manuel Ugarte. He probably would have kept Amrabat and McTominay. Also, the fact that he didn't play him that much. I know he was new to the club and stuff like that, but if you're up against it as a manager, you need to get wins on the board. You need to get points on the board. Manuel Ugarte is there, and you're struggling in midfield. You'd play him, yet he didn't, which makes me think he didn't rate him. So it'll be interesting to see what Ruben Amorim thinks. I'm guessing he's going to like him because he sort of blossomed at Sporting, didn't he? Manuel Ugarte. That's probably where he played his best football under Ruben Amorim. So I think he's going to feature a lot under the new manager, but we will wait and see. I've been relatively happy with Ugarte. I think it's been a solid start. I don't think it's been spectacular. It's been all right. I'll be interested to see how he progresses during the course of the season. I'm hoping there's a bit more to come from him. But I think you can see enough there to think there's a player there. For me, anyway. You may disagree. Get involved in the chat and the comments. But I can see why Manchester United bought him. Victor Lindelof is a player that could be on his way out. We've been saying this for about 4 years, haven't we? Says here from Court Offside, the future of Victor Lindelof at United remains uncertain, and the centre-back situation at Old Trafford is an opportunity AC Milan are trying to pounce on. Says there, the 30-year-old is out of contract with United at the end of the season, and so far it doesn't look like a new deal will be offered to the Swedish talent. And it also says Lindelof has gone on to feature 266 times for the Red Devils. It's mad, isn't it? You wouldn't think it was that many, but when you actually have a proper think about it and scratch beneath the surface, he has been here a little while, hasn't he? And there was a time when he was a regular starter for Manchester United. 266 games, can't be sniffed at. I'm not going to pretend, I'll be honest with you. I think it's time for Victor Lindelof to move on. I thought he did okay last night. It wasn't really the biggest of tests, but I'm just not. I think if you actually did the pecking order at Manchester United, he's way down in terms of centre backs. I know he might get more opportunities if he's playing 3 at the back. And to be fair to him, he does play in different positions. I think he's played right back, he's played left back. I think he had a brief stint in midfield as well the other day. But for me, the quality's not quite there. And also, you've got some good youngsters coming through. Is it time that you start looking at them and maybe sort of minimalising Victor Lindelof's minutes? Keeping him to the end of the season makes sense. I don't think you're going to get much money for him if you get rid of him in January. And if you're still using him, Ruud Van Nistelrooy started him last night. If Amorim thinks he can use him, even if it's just sparingly, I get it. But I think by the end of the season, he's got to go. I don't think he should be getting a contract renewal at all. That, for me, would be a big mistake. Let me know what you think. Wayne Davies says, people have been very quick to write a guy off. Remember the start of Onana's career at United? People writing him off already. Bloody hell. Desert Storm says, people have written every player in the team off at some point. That's probably true, that, to be honest with you. Aran Sivi says, will be a testimonial soon for Lindelof. Stephanie Griffiths in the chat as well. 24 away from 100 likes. Thanks, Steph. She's always pushing for likes, and rightly so. Hit that like button, please. People, let's get to 200 likes. Come on, we're almost at 100. Let's do it. 13 above says, Rudy's not good enough. He needs to go. I think he's having a little bit of a laugh, or they're having a little bit of a laugh there. Alex says, Victor has been playing well and has been playing more under Ruud even. Why talk badly about him now? I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to pretend that I've always thought he was good enough. And I can say he did okay last night, which I thought he did, and I've said that, and still think he needs to move on. Two things can be true. Akash K says, Jay, if ten Hag didn't want Ugarte, would ten Hag have flexed his transfer veto and just said no? Could he have done that though? Would that have, or was it like Jose who didn't want Fred, but Jose was given the option of it's either Fred or no one? And was there a sort of push with Eric? And also Eric Ten Hag's position was kind of frail anyway after what had happened last season, United interviewing other managers. Did he feel like, had he pushed back on the club against the likes of Wilcox, against Dan Ashworth, would that have I mean, I know it's academic now because he got sacked anyway, but would that have expedited his exit from the club? I don't know. Manish Bandari says, Jay, do you think we should sell all the players that are unavailable for majority of season, like Mount, Short and a few others? We need a ruthless strategy in the market now. I don't know. I think Ruud Van Nistelrooy comes in. He's got 2 weeks and he joined this international break. Is it 2 weeks? So you can have a look at some players. There's some players for me who they might even only have a few months. I get your point. You might have a few months to sort of prove before the January transfer window that they can do a job for Manchester United. You might look at some of them and go, you're not for me, you're not good enough. And in January, if you want to go, you can go. However, there's a few, and I think you may mention Mason Mount there, who might still have an opportunity to prove something. It's a weird one with Mason Mount because this is his second season, but he didn't play a lot in his first season, and he's had terrible luck with injuries, including this season. So I think it's difficult to assess whether he's not good enough or is he just injured a lot. And also, if he is injured a lot, is this a recurring theme? Is this for him now for the rest of his career? Is he just going to keep having injuries, or is he just having a really bad time of it? Because his injury record at Chelsea wasn't that bad. If it was this bad, we never would have spent 50 million quid on him or whatever it was. I forget the exact fee. So I think somewhere between what you're saying, sort of in the middle, is probably right. Ruud Van Nistelrooy comes in. You might look at certain players and go straight away. Sometimes managers do that, don't they? With certain players, they go, not for me, not having him. We've seen that over the years when a new manager's came in. I think with Ollie, it was Alexis Sanchez, and Fellaini, he was like, not for me at all. With Jose, it was Bastian Schweinsteiger and Memphis Depay, I think. Just not interested. Doesn't matter, how much we paid for you, how good your reputation is, whatever. Just didn't want him. It made it blindingly obvious immediately. I think every manager does that with certain players. Some managers surprise you as well. When Eric Ten Hag came in, everyone thought Anthony Martial was probably done, but Eric Ten Hag actually seemed to like him. I know it didn't work out because Martial's injuries just caught up with him, but he certainly gave him some minutes in that first season when he was available. He played. He actually scored some goals as well. So I think you'll have to Ruud Van Nistelrooy will just have to make his own mind up, won't he? And we'll see what happens. But I think for a few players now, they're at a bit of a crossroads. Luke Shaw's a weird one because when he plays, he does very well, but his injury record is atrocious. Mason Mount's slightly different in the sense that his injury record for United has been atrocious, but he hasn't played a lot. So you don't know how good he can be for United. We saw what we saw at Chelsea, but we haven't seen that for United. So in terms of Shaw and Mount in particular, I think it's a different conversation to be had. Just one final one. Shola Shoretire. We did this, me and Dave Pritt, when we did the Academy review. We did this thing where we were like, how do you pronounce his name? It's not Shoretire, as we'd been saying, because everyone was correcting us and people correcting us. It's actually Shoretire. And someone, I think, from MUTV said it's Shoretire. We said it like that. And then one day I saw him doing an interview when he was on loan somewhere, and he said Shoretire himself. And I was like, what? Anyway, I digress. There's a story in the Mirror. Man United fans share feelings on ex-Wonder Kid kicked out of dressing room by Eric Ten Hag. It's so dramatic. Kicked out of the dressing room by Eric Ten Hag. Like Eric Ten Hag went and put him in an headlock and physically removed him from the dressing room. Shola Shoretire was applauded on the Old Trafford pitch by the Manchester United fans on his return. The 20-year-old only left the Premier League club in the summer following the expiry of his contract, but made a swift return on his new club, PAOK, visited for a Europa League crash. Shoretire began on the bench but was introduced in the second half. It's interesting because Barcelona were in for him at one point. Honestly, he was well sought after by a lot of big clubs across Europe. When he was a kid, that was it. He went on loan to Bolton. I couldn't remember where he'd gone. Never really got a look in over under Eric Ten Hag. And it got to that point where you're thinking, probably not going to make it at Manchester United. The move to PAOK was a bit of a strange one. I thought he might end up staying in the UK or staying in England, but he ended up going there. And you can see here, there was lots of players. There were several players that were cast out from United's changing room amid an influx of new signings when the Dutch manager first arrived, with little room remaining among the first team facilities. Reports suggested a group was shunted into the under-23 changing area. Phil Jones, Brandon Williams, Axel Tuanzebe, Terem Menge and Shoretire were said to be the players relegated, with the now PAOK star never appearing to be part of Ten Hag's plans. Yeah, I understand that. It's not nice when you see that, especially with some of the academy players. It's just, you know, players that have, in some respects as well, done a very good job at times for Manchester United. But if you've got too many players for your squad and you bring in new players and you can't fit them all in the changing room, what are you going to do? Also, there's a little quote here from Shola Shoretire. He says, of course it was difficult to leave, but I felt it was the right moment for my career. PAOK seemed like a very good club to go to, and I'm very happy with how it's gone so far. We'll see what happens with Shola Shoretire. We can keep an eye on him. Some players blossom, don't they, as they get into the sort of early to mid-20s. We'll see. Probably wasn't quite at the level we hoped he would be. It's not the end of the world. Thank you for everyone who's got involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be back later on today with The Brew. That's me and Stephen Alton for that one. So make sure if you're not doing already, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Moyer. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.